Some lady.
You know, like
Is there, like the other side, so it's matching.
Like the content stuff.
Yeah, right, a witness to that, somebody.
They didn't just say that. It's just- Well, they told us
Yeah, I'm glad you decided to stay in Delaware. What's going on?
Oh, I guess I'm all talking.
Gotta make believe it. Hey, work from your own house. And you get, yeah. What's great, you get stir crazy and fast. It's not too bad. It's on vibrate? Yes, it is.
Okay, it's just a little bit past 7. We've got everybody that's here is going to be here, and so I'm going to call the meeting to order. This, am I on here? Yeah. This is the City of Delaware Historic Preservation Commission meeting. Date is November 18th, 2015. And could we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Coleman.
Here.
Mr. Kehoe.
Here.
Mr. Nicely.
Here.
Ms. Riviera.
Here.
Councilman Jones.
Here.
Vice Chairman Hatton. Chairman Koch.
Here. Mr. Hatton let both the city staff and I know earlier in the week that he was not going to be here. I'd like to have a motion to excuse Mr. Hatton.
Motion to excuse. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Did you get who were the?
I think Joe did, or
That
not.
was
Joe
Aaron.
did, yeah.
Yeah.
Aaron was the motion
Yeah,
and
I did that.
Chris Jones the second. Any discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Mr. Coleman.
Abstain.
Mr. Kehoe.
Wait, how can you abstain?
Oh,
This is to excuse Mark Hatton.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was writing a note for a comment that I want to bring up at the meeting. May I change that to yes?
Mr. Kehoe.
Yeah.
Mr. Nicely.
Yes.
Ms. Riviera.
Yes.
Councilman Jones.
Yes.
Chairman Koch.
Yes. The second item on the agenda is the approval of the motion summary of the HPC meeting held on October 28th, 2015, as recorded and transcribed. Have you had an opportunity to look at the motion summary, and do you have any corrections or additions? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve the motion summary?
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Mr. Coleman.
Now I abstain.
Mr. Kehoe.
Yeah.
Mr. Nicely.
Yes.
Ms. Riviera.
Yes.
Councilman Jones.
Yes.
Chairman Koch.
Yes. Item 3 on the agenda, 3A, regular business, is application 2015-2316, which is a request by Zion United Church of Christ for a certificate of appropriateness for the installation of an illuminated cross at 51 West Central Avenue, which is zoned R4, medium-density residential, and located in the residential sub-district of the Downtown Historic District overlay. Diane, do we have a staff report?
Yes, we do. As you had mentioned, the church is located at 51 West Central Avenue, and this is on the southwest corner of North Franklin and West Central. And the area is zoned residential, and specifically the property itself is zoned R4, which is medium density residential district, as the properties to the north and west, and the properties to the south are zoned R6, which is multifamily residential, while the properties to the east are zoned B2, which is central business district. Now, the historic district overlay, the This is a very unique situation because the church owns 3 parcels along West Central. The corner parcel where the main church building sits is located within the historic district itself, the residential sub-district, while the 2 parcels to the west are outside of the historic district. The building itself is considered a contributing building in the National Register Historic Northwest District. The church was built between 1915 and 1917, and then in 2001, a brick addition to accommodate an elevator was constructed on the west elevation facing the parking lot. And here's a picture of the church itself, which sits on the corner, which is in the historic district. And then to the west, you can see the elevator addition, which faces the parking lot in the second photo. Now, the church is proposing to install a 12-foot high by 5-foot wide aluminum cross on the angled wall section of the elevator addition, which is adjacent to the church's rear entrance that faces the parking lot on West Central. And the lighting, again, is unique in that it will be a halo glow internal illumination. And the city has approved this type of lighting outside the historic district in other areas of the city, but this will be the first application in the historic district that staff is aware of. And halo glow is considered a form of internal illumination, so the cross would be backlit by mounting a warm white LED lighting in the same configuration behind the aluminum cross. And the backlighting would create more of a subdued white glow rather than a glare from behind the cross. And it would be glowing around the shape of the cross, hence the name halo glow. And the applicant has requested that the lighting be on a timer to be turned on at dusk and turned off at by 10 p.m. However, our standards indicate that lighting for churches in the residential district would need to be turned off at 9 p.m. So they are willing to make that change if requested. And the church would also like to turn on the lighting for special occasions, such as Christmas Eve services. Now, our staff analysis, again, because of the unique situation of having a religious institutional use in a residential area, in order to approve the application, which city staff is supportive of, we would need a number of variances to the standards. First would be the number of signs allowed for the church. The standards indicate that churches may have a freestanding directory sign, which it does have on the corner, and then also a wall sign indicating the facility's name, which it also does have above the steps to the church on the Central Avenue side. And so allowing the application of the illuminated cross would require a variance to add a third type of sign. The standards also indicate that no neon or internally lighted signs are permitted in the residential district. And as we stated before, staff's determination has consistently been that halo glow illumination is a form of internal illumination. And as we had described before, the lighting would basically, as I'm trying to give the technical, it's hard to describe. The lighting is placed directly behind the sign face, which would be the actual cross. And instead of the light shining through the cross, it would be forced to shine around the edges of the cross, thereby creating a glowing or halo effect. And so this type of backlit sign would require variance to the standards. And thirdly, the standards state that no sign shall be illuminated after 9 p.m. and the request is to have the sign lighting turned off at 10 p.m. and also to be used for special occasions such as Christmas Eve services. And so we also had wanted to note that the church is the site of the new warming center for the city, which would welcome guests until 10 p.m. So we feel it would be appropriate to have the lighting, be allowed to remain lit until 10 p.m. as well. And therefore, because of all of these unique situations, staff is supportive of allowing these variances to the standards. And the placement of the cross itself and that sight line, again, because of the unique situation of the church itself being in the historic district, the sight line for that cross would be towards properties that are outside. All of these properties are outside of the historic district. And the size of the cross appears to be in scale with the size of the church building. And so taking all of these factors into account, neither the applicant or the staff are anticipating, any negative impacts on the surrounding neighborhood. And so we're open for any questions or comments.
Commission members have any questions for our staff?
I have one, Mr. Chairman. Just on a side note, out of curiosity, if in a different scenario, if the church was to put up a security light, like you see around buildings, security lighting, I assume would they have to get a variance of any sort or something like that? Like what we're doing, would they have to appear before this board to do something like that for a brighter security light?
I believe in the historic district, we allow security lights. A lot of them are gooseneck if they're facing the public, I guess.
But a security lighting in that case would be much brighter than what we're talking about.
It could
In this
be.
case too.
And we try to lessen that if possible.
Great, thank you.
Is there a way to quantify the brightness of the illumination that's being proposed? I mean, it sounds very...
Yeah, the applicants are here. Because I had looked on the website to see if there was any type of measurements for the lighting, and that's all it kept saying was a soft, subdued lighting. It didn't quantify, but I don't know if you'd like to ask question of the applicant.
Well, the first thing that occurs to me is that, number one, they're pretty small light sources, and number two, any light that's projected out is going to be reflected off of a relatively dark red brick surface. So I can't see that it's going to be any kind of an...
And then the zoning code has minimum illumination standards, foot candle standards, and property lines, which is 0.2 for residential. I'm sure this is less than that
Yeah.
based on other developments we've reviewed, subdivision developments and the like.
Well, now, would the applicant care to come up and identify, could you come up to the microphone and identify yourself and give your name and address for the recorded record?
Peter Johnston, 26 Woodland Ave, here in town. To answer your question real quick about the light level, basically, if you were in your security light level as well, 150 watt bulb, which is basically a spotlight that you have over your garage, produces 2,600 lumens, which is the measure of the light. So rope light, these LED rope lights only have 30 lumens per linear foot. So we'd be at a total of about 900 lumens. So we'd be about it would be about a third of what a 150 watt bulb puts out. So, to answer your question as to how to do that and stuff like that.
Well, I'm just gonna, the rope light is behind
Correct.
and contained by an opaque metal cross.
Correct.
So the only light that's projected out
Yeah.
is what's reflected off of the dark red brick.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Anybody got any objections to that?
I just got a question just for, not necessarily about this particular.
There's a lighting engineer.
Well, no.
Ask your
What I'm
question.
curious about is, when we've talked about, internally lit signage before downtown, I guess I always envisioned, golden arches kind of, that, some kind of, plastic internally lit. So was this even, because you were here, you were originally part of the, I think, committee that put these together. Was this even a consideration with that terminology? Because to me, this is a backlit sign, not necessarily an internally lit sign.
Well, that occurred to me when I was reading this. Number one, this is not, there's some question in my mind whether this even qualifies as a sign. It has no message, it's not commercial. It has not got language on it, and there's no direct lighting that shines through this. If it was a yellow plexiglass cross with lights behind it, that would be different to me.
Right.
This seems about as tasteful and low impact as I could imagine this being on a building.
Well, yeah, that's kind of funny, because when I first started reading the, essentially the file on this, I thought, ooh, internally lit, and then I saw, essentially what it was. And again, I know it's just not, semantics or whatever, but sorry about having to, forcing you to watch how the sausage was made, but I was just curious.
Yeah, staff had that discussion.
Yeah.
But, by definition of the code, it is a sign, it's a graphic.
Right.
Like the Nike swoosh would be a sign and so forth and so on. And the internal, how we interpret it as internal illumination, it is within the signs, it's just blocked from
Right,
coming
I got
out.
you.
So that was the interpretation. It's kind of a cautious interpretation because it is an overlay district.
Okay. So,
And we do have other examples in the city. The former Floyd Brown building, the accountant sign on there is similar to this. You go by it at night, and look at it in the future.
I have just one thing, guys. This is the size of it, the guy that's holding it.
No, that's
This
just,
is gonna be this big.
it's going to be, yes, that's approximately as close to scale as I could do it, being 12 feet tall and 5 feet wide.
Okay.
It's approximately 5 square feet.
It's
By
four,
the
it's
width.
4 inches
It's only
wide,
4
4
inches.
Right.
Yeah.
It's wide and,
So it's 12.
12 foot.
So, Mr. Chairman, I want to come in. In regards to this particular applicant, I don't have any reservations. My one concern, though, is, as we often come to here, is whether or not we're setting a precedent. Specifically, we're discussing the possibility of granting 3 separate variances to our own standards. And by our guidelines, we have 6 criteria, one of which needs to be met before we have a reason to grant a variance. And so I'm just wondering if we could have a discussion about which one of those criteria does this meet to grant those variances versus the record. I guess it's There has to be a substantial economic reduction in the value of the property. Cannot be maintained in its current form, or substantial economic burden would result. No reasonable alternative. Little or no historical or architectural significance. Cannot be reasonably maintained,
Those are-
et cetera.
Those are reasons for demolition of a building, not for putting up a sign.
But isn't that just simply about any granting of a variance?
I don't
We're-
think, I don't have that right in front of me,
Okay.
but in
Right,
my recollection,
On the second page of the application form, which is actually the very last page of this report, it gives the listing of the variances, or the meeting at least one of the following 6 criteria. And
Well, I mean, what's the alternative? No reasonable alternative exists. I mean,
I guess staff justified it, and I think in the condition it's limited to institutional uses, particular churches.
Okay.
right, and this is a scenario of very unique circumstances of having a religious institutional use in a residential sub-district.
Okay.
And so we have a whole set of very unique sets of circumstances which would justify the variances.
Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that we had that clear on the record, for the sake of.
Well,
Sure.
Future applicants.
would it behoove us as we put together a motion to indicate that particular reason for, the appropriateness of the variance, kind of, I think you're concerned about not setting a precedent, this is an institutional.
Condition 5 kind of addresses that, or from our perspective, granted, or addresses that situation.
Or we're chucking in the app. Okay. So back up.
I can read it if you want. It says the variance is so granted shall apply only to religious institutional uses on this site.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Okay.
would you care to craft a motion?
Sure. I move that we approve case number 2015-2316 with staff recommendations.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second by Mr. Jones. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Mr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Kehoe,
Yeah.
Mr. Nicely,
No.
Ms. Riviera,
Yes.
Councilman Jones.
Yes.
Chairman Koch.
Yes. You got approved, Peter.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How soon is it going to get installed?
We're actually trying to do it before Christmas this year yet. We're trying to get everything squared away. And to be honest, we had no idea we were creating all these variances. But I appreciate, Diane's done a great job helping me out, getting everything ready, and I appreciate all her help. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Item 3B on the agenda is application 2015-2345. This is a request by 12 West Restaurant for a certificate of appropriateness for the restoration of the west elevation of 12 West William Street, which is Zone B2 in the Central Business District and located in the transitional sub-district of the Downtown Historic District overlay. Diane, do we have a staff report?
Yes, we do, and the applicants are here once again in the audience. To give you a real quick overview, since the 12 West building has been before the commission on a number of occasions. It's located in the transitional sub-district of the Historic District overlay. The zoning is B2. And as stated, it's transitional, and here's the aerial photo. The auditor's office lists the year of construction as 1920, but we surmise it was in the early 1900s. And in recent years, the property has been used for a series of restaurants. And the applicants are before the commission today. As you know, the adjacent building at 14 West William is being demolished, thus exposing the west elevation wall of 12 West. And the first request is, and I'm on the second page of the report. Based on structural evidence observed by the city chief building official and the project engineer, it's apparent that 12 West William was built prior to 14 West William, and that an exterior stair once existed on the west elevation of 12 West William. The stairway was enclosed, and a false front was created with wood framing and a stucco application to span the gap between the two buildings. An entry door was installed at the sidewalk level to access the stairs to the second floor. And so you can see on the photo on the left, this is the inside of that false front. And it's right here. So basically, the only thing that's holding up this entire false front is this piece of lumber and where it's connected at the roof line. And what the applicant would like to do, because there is really no structural integrity to that portion, is to have it sawn off along the true building line, which is brick. And so that is the first request. Now, the second request is the complete restoration of that entire west wall, which has not been exposed to the elements in over 100 years. This is going to take a little imagination on everyone's part here. And their little bricks here work. So here's that false front, which is going to be removed. All of this portion here is the original brick elevation of this building.
The gray, right?
What's that?
The gray that we're looking at?
From here to here. It's all like whitewashed. I'm not sure.
Is that what I'm asking? Is that just brick that's been painted over, or is that?
Yeah,
Yeah. And you can
several
see,
times.
Yeah, you can see some of the original brick wall right here. Okay. Now the stair to the second floor is still enclosed in here. And so we would still need at least the width of that stairway will still be needed and enclosed so you can get up to your second floor. And so this portion here is going to jog out a little bit, while this portion will be inset and this will be gone. So, what the applicant would like to do is restore this entire brick face. 14 West William, the redevelopment plan is calling for a patio to be in the first 23 feet of this parcel. And then the new building will be constructed with that 23-foot setback, which will be essentially attached to this west elevation wall. So this entire brick wall will be exposed and inset, and then we'll have the enclosed stairway to the second floor. With the new building at 23 feet setback, this will all be enclosed. So you will see a small section of like a hardy plank siding application, and then the new building starting from there back. And this new wall will be constructed of, I think, concrete block is currently proposed for the new wall to be constructed here.
Which will be touching the replacement building at 14 West.
Correct. Right. But because of this configuration, this comes back about 19 feet. And then we have the enclosed stair, and then the new building starts at 23 feet back from the sidewalk. So you will see this exposed corner of that enclosed stairway. And then, like I said, then you will see the building, the new building constructed. And then further down, there will still be a smaller addition at the rear of the restaurant building, and that will be covered with hardy plank. And also, all of the roof repairs will need to be done, and new gutters, new spouts. The other component was with the redevelopment plan for 14 West, there was going to be a short brick knee wall at the sidewalk line. Now, removing this false front, we will have a gap of about 3 feet between the new brick knee wall of 14 West and the actual building line. So there will be a small extension from the original building line to the newly constructed short knee wall of 14 West.
Is there any problem anticipated with the owner of the 14 West Winter Street property extending his front brick wall another 3 feet to touch this existing building?
Well, I believe 12 West was going to make that extension to join with 14.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would the applicant care to come forward and
Yes.
introduce themselves, give their name and address for the record, please?
Diane, could you go through that one more time?
David DiStefano, owner of the building, 12 West William Street. So far, everything Diane's explained is correct. However, I'm not sure where the idea of the 3-foot knee wall came from, but that's not in our initial plans right now. But everything else she described is. I will say that we've been operating sort of on a fast track. As soon as we found out, we had about 9 days notice when the building was going to come down. And about the next business days, we had a couple bids, and if you'll pardon my story here, I'll make it quick and short. we didn't get, we decided on a builder. I think that's where these plans came from that were submitted to Diane. Unfortunately, we didn't get the final bid until Saturday night, 4 days ago. So we're no longer working with that builder because it didn't come in under bid. And it was Saturday night at 10 o'clock and we were supposed to start Monday. So I will promise you all that the part that Diane explained that, how do I describe it? Basically the 4 to 5 feet, 3 to 4 feet, that's going to be exposed, the kind of the corner cutout that's going to enclose our stairway. You'll be able to see that based on Mr. Mansell's patio. We'll do that as it says in here.
That'll be frame construction with hardy plank
Yes,
siding?
yes, sir. But the rest of it going back, we're not sure if that's going to be concrete block, if that's going to, but whatever we do, we'll make sure we work with staff and.
To follow up on that, so we won't be able to see the concrete block.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be sort of flush, if you will. My understanding is with Mr. Manos's property.
Well, and I understood from Diane that any concrete block that appears visible when they're done will be covered with the hardy
Okay.
plank siding.
That's how I.
Yeah.
Including,
I think that's right.
including to the north, right?
So it'll be the.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like, correct.
Okay.
It's a very small area, but
Yeah.
it'll be height wise, but we'll,
That is after Manos building's constructed.
Right.
Clarify that.
yeah, we're trying to get this done as quickly as possible. We have a very unsecured building right now, and it is not something that, we've had more in our challenges for this little building than we ever care to. And it just continues. So.
To be the understatement of
Thank you. I appreciate that comment. So we're working as quickly as we can to get this secure. And as soon as we have a builder ready to go, which we hope to in the next couple of days, we will work on securing that side, was basically covered in plastic. That's the part that I'm concerned about, is that part, because it wouldn't be too hard to get in there. But we are secure once the doorways are all secured with alarms and deadbolts. But it's sort of a vulnerable building right now.
Do you have any specs or information on how you're going to restore that brick wall? That's the actual wall of your building?
That was another line in the application. I don't know what that means. That was the first I've heard of it, restore. I don't know what that means, restore.
Well,
I don't either.
I'll-
That's why I'm asking.
Sure.
yeah, I believe you were intending on removing the white. Or,
Not
yeah,
from
I
me.
know, we really hadn't really developed the details because it's like you said, we were literally, Ron Criswell was in the office and speaking with chief building official and Dave Eflin, our planning director, and the entire staff trying to quickly put this plan together. So some of the smaller details.
I can tell the commission that Diane and myself and Jerry Warner and Dave Eflin visited this site 3-4 days ago, something like that, and got a firsthand look. That brick wall, that is an old brick wall that's painted white and all dirty. That has where the lines, the diagonal lines that you see down towards the bottom corner where the white stops, that was where the stairway was from the street. And then from that up to the other lines that you see coming down at an angle, that was where the framed roof once was. And above that line, and the line I'm talking about is here. Above that line is brick with nothing more than a layer or two of white paint. Below that line, which was enclosed by the roof built over the stairs at some point, is stucco or plaster or something that looks like it would come off pretty easily if it was assaulted. That is an old brick wall, and if you could see yourself clear to cleaning the crap off of it, it would look pretty good, make your building look good.
It could, I don't know the process, and I wouldn't want to make any promises I couldn't keep. We'll do our best to clean it. I just don't know what the end result will be. And we'll certainly clean it and try to make it look good.
You're talking sandblasting the wall to
Well,
remove the paint.
sandblasting or chemical cleaning, you're going to have to mechanically remove the stucco, I suppose. I just kind of wanted to get some commitment from you as to what cleaning the wall meant in your mind.
I do not know, sir. Cleaning, I mean, we'll get professional estimates and I'll have a better understanding. You know, I just don't know what it takes. If it's a simple process, we'll do it. You know, we're going to do something. You know, this is something as a building that no one else, except for Jack on the other side, we have to do. This will be one of the few buildings that's set back. We wouldn't have to worry about it
I mean,
if the building was flush.
Yeah, I just wonder under the circumstances if, you know, as we, you know, put together a motion that, you know, we could leave that as something that once you kind of, you've got timelines, obviously, that you got to hit. And, you know, for the sake of not, you know, stalling the project or delaying, you know, the start of the stuff that's critical, that this might be something that could be then, you know, once you've decided what you're going to do, but before you do anything,
Yes, sir.
you know, bring it to the city, and it might be an administrative approval, or, you know, depending on what course you go, it might, you know, be something before you do that step that it would have to come back to the commission perhaps. But
Sure.
you know, I think you know, for me, one of the concerns would be that just, you know, before you do something that, you know, not that you have any intention of doing anything that would, you know, irretrievably damage, you know, the fabric or something, but before you do something, just, you know, at least let the city, you know, planning department know, and then if it's administrative approval, I mean, depending on, you know, how invasive it is or whatever, it may be as simple as that.
I'm kind of thinking along with Chris Jones that I'd like to see some, as part of this motion, some commitment that that wall will be cleaned back to the original brick surface rather than just repainted dirty white or,
I don't think I said repainted anything. I just can't make you a promise on what I don't know. I just read that yesterday. And so I'll clean it. I'll try to make, I think I've shown that we've done a lot to our building. We've rebuilt it twice. We've taken care of the outside. I think, you know, so I will do the best I can. I just can't promise you what it will be. And pushing that 14 West back 23 feet, and we're incurring several $1,000s more in expense. So we have to take that into consideration. You know, from that 23 feet further back to the alley, I mean, we have to deal with that. The roof, we have to deal with. You know, but that first 23 feet, that's a new aspect to this project. So I will get professional bids. I'll work with you all, work with the staff, and we want to do it right. Everything we've done, we've tried to do right, and we will continue. But to sit here and I can tell you what it looks like at the end or how much money I'm going to put into that, I'd like to work with you on that as opposed to restore it to the brick. Because I don't know what that means. If that's a simple sandblasting and it does it, it'll happen. But
well, it's basically just removing the stucco, well, it's probably not stucco, it looks like a hand-done plaster job inside the stairs there when it was inside the stairs.
correct.
And then the rest of it above that roof, the old roof line, that's all just painted
I
brick.
think we
You
can
see
scrape
the
it
brick.
off and sandblast it and it should look good.
I think that would look good.
It's just going to be exposed for the world to see, so I don't want to sit here and tell you it's going to look one thing, and then if I'm wrong, I
Everybody
gotta do
coming
it.
along on William Street there from the west to the east is going to see that as the side of your building.
not by my choice. Not by my choice.
For the record, sandblasting can be a very destructive
Right.
medium to use on a brick building. It's a fired brick, and the stability of that brick depends on the fired surface. People sandblast buildings, and there's other, you can find buildings downtown that have had this done, what happens is you lose the protection of that fired surface. The
Okay.
brick becomes more permeable. You get moisture absorbed into it, and then it freeze thaws, cracks, falls. So there are other methods, that you can explore for cleaning a brick surface, but sandblasting is in fact, I think it's prohibited.
Correct, right. That's what I had wanted to bring up, is that sandblasting is really not allowed in the historic district for the.
And that goes to my
reasons that-
point. I don't want to sit here and tell you all what we may or may not do.
Right, and I guess that's kind of what my concern would be, that, you need to assess what it's gonna take and, come back to the city and say, this is what I'd like to do, and then they can work with, the chairman to determine is that an administrative approval, or if, depending on what it is, it comes back to the commission, but.
And staff brought this to you, we fast-tracked this, make sure they can secure the
Right.
building. That's
Right.
the most important, and for these details as we move forward, because David, look at all his options out.
So if I could have one more question for you.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned, the 19 feet, I believe it is, it's going to be from the front of the building to the stairwell. That area where that part of the south elevation is being removed, that's sort of a rectangle that'll be on your property. What's going to be done with that space? Is it going to be filled in with concrete so it ties in with the neighboring patio at 14 West, or have you had a chance to develop any plan for that? Or is it?
West property.
No, I don't think so. You're saying that the property line is actually where the masonry wall is rather than
Rather than
where
the
the,
false wall? Really?
Yeah, I believe so.
Well, that's another issue. Yeah,
hmm,
okay.
Been quite
Okay.
a challenge.
That answers my immediate question then.
I
Yeah.
believe so.
I'm sure we'll work with Mr. Manos to try to make it, its appearance as good as possible.
I think we're in the early stages of trying to secure this, and winterize it, if you will, and then as we move forward, we can aesthetically determine what ultimately this will look like.
Yeah, what we're going to try to do, obviously, for the immediate feet is that 23 feet back around the corner,
Mhm.
get that secured
Okay.
and get that built up. And then we'll come back to the city and the staff with that wall and that rectangle area that you said.
Yeah. Although, like I said, if it actually belonged to 14 West,
I believe that,
then that would be a different
I
issue,
believe
right?
that this exhibit,
Mhm.
from our records, the orange line is where the property line.
And I don't know how this works, and our attorney's looking at it. Again, expense to deal with these matters, the ones we never thought we'd incur, but trying to figure out, while it's his property line, he's been good to work with, but while it's his property line, I think I had stairways there for more than 2 decades, and there's something in the law that we have the right to retain that. And I should stop there. We have the right to
adverse
retain that.
possession.
I think that's the phrase I'm referring to, but again, that's where our attorneys are looking into this,
Language,
just to make sure.
water's rights, not the legal.
Yeah, so, and he knows we have those steps, and he's never mentioned anything to the contrary, so, but once we build that out, and if he wanted to do something with that rectangle area, we would have no objections there.
Okay, thanks.
Our goals, same goals you guys have, we just looking at it from this side.
Sure.
For my part, first I have to confess, I must be a terrible driver, because I went by there at least half dozen times today. I did not know this big gaping hole. I mean, oblivious to this construction.
That means you're a good driver.
You know what I mean?
Right, I've been watching the road, yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, when did this go down? I'm like, I just missed it 6 times. I hate to hold these guys up trying to secure their building, and, I think we can work out the wall issue after the fact. So let them get their building secured and do what they got to do.
Thank you.
We'll make a motion.
Sure, happy to. Okay, I move that we accept certificate of appropriateness for petition HPC 2015-2345 with the inclusion of all staff recommendations and the inclusion of staff recommendation number 5, which should read, applicant shall submit for administrative approval a plan to restore the west elevation facade to an acceptable historic condition prior to final completion of the building renovations, period.
I have a motion from Mr. Nicely.
Second.
I have a second from Ms. Riviera. Any further discussion?
Just one question on the language for admin of approval. Supposing admin approval is not possible, you have any concerns? Does that need to be in the, basically in the language, or is that just,
I think it's assumed that it's not administratively
Okay,
approved
that's-
to come from.
I just wanted to.
Okay. Sure, good point.
And there is language to that effect in condition number 1. That any significant revisions to the approved plans would need at minimum administrative approval by HPC or appearance at another HPC meeting, depending on the magnitude of any future revisions. If that's satisfactory.
That's fine.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Mr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Kehoe,
Yes.
Mr. Nicely,
Yes.
Ms. Riviera,
Yes.
Councilman Jones,
Yes.
Chairman Coe.
Yes. Thank you, gentlemen,
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Thank you, guys.
what you're doing to make the downtown a nicer place.
Ron, I'll do my part. I'll buy more chicken chimichangas and white rajas.
Item 4 on the agenda is commission member comments and discussion. Mr. Coleman has a commission member comment.
Has anybody noticed on the corner, I guess it would be the northeast corner of Sandusky and Winter Street, facing Sandusky, I think it might be the second floor window, there is a video display.
Yeah. It's on tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
that
is the,
comes and goes.
It said something about like there was,
Haven't.
like some sort of a martial arts class or something like that, and there's a website, you can barely see it there, but it's a big LED screen.
Is it
It's like
actually,
the size of one window. sort of.
Which building is it actually in?
Is it inside the window?
it's inside the building. I think it's inside
What's
the
there on the
window.
corner, is that the attorney's office that's right there in the corner there?
Or is that the bail bondsman's building?
no, wait, we're talking about the Solar Saloon, aren't we?
No,
No.
Winter.
Winter.
Oh, Winter.
Northeast. Northeast corner of Winter and Sandusky.
Yes, it would be catty corner to the Delaware Bank.
Okay. Right.
Love Hill Fund? Love Hill
Across
Fund?
the street from the that building.
Yes. I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen
It's
Never
pretty,
said that.
it's pretty jarring when you're walking down Sandusky Street.
Second floor or third?
I think it's the second floor,
Second
Second or third, might be the third.
maybe it's the third.
So it's not the Gazette building, it's not Mike Shade's office, it's not
No,
It's on the very end.
It's
It's
the, it's the,
cheap one, it's
it's
the other corner.
it's the building that Jack Kilborn's office is in.
Oh,
isn't it?
It's 2 doors down from the
Nor-
cigar shop.
Northeast corner?
Um, Yeah, northeast corner facing Sandusky.
Google map
In
it.
front Sandusky.
Was it Winter or Central?
It faces.
Winter
Sandusky.
and Sandusky Street.
Winter and
Yeah.
Sandusky.
Northwest corner.
The address of the first floor is 42 North Sandusky, and the address of the second and third floor,
Can't tell anything from that, but.
that is the third floor is a martial arts class and taekwondo and all that.
Jiu-jitsu.
That is a recent tenant, and I can give you contact information if you like.
Okay. Because
I don't know how jarring it was necessarily, but it was definitely noticeable.
Well, I thought it
I
was.
saw a
pretty-
lot, I saw movement up there.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty jarring and, well, our little version of Times Square, I guess. But my concern is, one of them to me was, pretty noticeable. If that sets a precedent and there are a lot of those, it's going to get real crazy. And
This is a historic district. I mean, I don't think we want a proliferation of this kind of stuff.
We'll address the issue.
yeah, to me, it's the same as the chasing LED lights, and those kinds of things. It's, it's just as obnoxious as those.
Any other, so staff will address that. Any other commission member comments or discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I have one. I'm just curious regarding the last application we just dealt with here with 12 West and 14 West. With the revelation now that there's this stairwell that belongs to 12 West that extends into what nominally is the property of 14 West, and we approved 3 weeks ago, the plan, is it going to have to come back before us again for a modification, or will that be taken care of behind the scenes?
Well, and it's complicated by the fact that it sounds to me like the only vertical circulation to the second floor of 12 West is up that exterior stairway, which they're about to make an interior stairway. And it sure would be interesting. I mean, I don't have an interest in either of those properties, but I would think that would be a significant legal issue.
Sounds like the applicant for 12 West was addressing that, so see how it plays out.
Yeah. I was curious, right?
Been through a lot, man.
Yeah.
What's the,
Well, there is the principle of adverse possession, where if someone builds something, the edge of a garage or whatever, on your property, and you know it's there, and you let it go on for an amount of time, which is something like
21 years.
several years,
21 sticks in mind.
10 years, or then as a legal precedent, you're forfeiting the ownership of that piece of property.
But I think there's circumstances. That's I think it's a legal issue. I don't think it's cut and dry, but it's a legal issue.
Why don't you check that out with Schulman and see what, that's,
Hopefully they can work together on this and be good neighbors and work it out.
right. Okay. Any other commission member comments or discussion? Any other illegal signage that's crept in the last month? What's the latest on the sidewalk appliques in front of Amato's? I thought that
One
was really clever signage, but it's just illegal.
Right, yeah, and I have been in communication with the restaurant owners. They have promised that they will remove the decals from the sidewalk. One has been removed, and so I'm still working with him on that other one. So 50% compliant.
Anything else? You got to get out more, Chris.
Look around more. I don't see nothing.
Drink downtown, you know, I do. Okay.
I have a conversation with my boss when I said, hey, we're 15% compliant on this. And he said, you mean you're not compliant?
That's right.
And actually, it's more like 90.
Okay, hearing no more comments or discussion, I'll remind you that the date for the next HPC meeting has been altered because of the holiday season, and it will be on December 16th. So change your appropriate calendars. And can I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved. Second.
Have a motion and a second? I think that makes us adjourn.
Happy Thanksgiving,
Thank you.
everybody.
Me too. Me too. Thank you.
This is a
Anyone-
record for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.